right? And at some point, I'm not going to talk you into having personal creative freedom and arguably personal freedom from your finances to go do what you got to do, right? Go do your, as a matter of fact, part of me, after I think you shouldn't do that. You should go out and exploit yourself, because I think everybody should advocate for themselves. If you're not going to do it, there's a part of me, there's the other half of me that says, I hope you don't, so I never have to compete with you. Please make this a low bar to get over. Please make it that all the talented people won't do it, and this mediocre people that will are going to get the jobs. Do me this favor. And they have for 27 years, ultimately, right? I am the most successful mediocre guy that you will ever meet, and this is why I just try to rally people at my panels. You can see, I just come, I am average, and I was dumb as a kid, and here I sit, and you guys give me way more credit than I should, and I'm going, wow, what if you actually were skilled and talented and intelligent to start with? I learned stuff along the way, but what if you were better than me to start with and you applied it? Who knows where you could go? This is the piece that I just don't get, why people don't want to try it, right? The fear factor, but now I'm starting to realize it's personality. You have to, it's a personality, and you either have it or you don't. You either have it or you don't. So, and here's how you know whether you're close to having the personality. I'll ask you one question. Have you ever gone to the bar or to the dance hall, crowd of people, the band started, and you were the first one on the dance floor? And so the answer, if you have, then I think, shit, you and I can have a talk. And if the answer is no, you waited till there was not 4 people out there, not 8 people. You have to wait till there was 50, so that it would then be easy for you to go onto the dance floor, because then nobody would notice you, nobody would make fun of you. If you waited for the easy, then you don't have it, right? Because this is simple. This is simple for the people who are the first ones out there. Why? You know who's out on the dance floor first? The person who came to dance.
Not afraid to make change.
And they went, honey, you want to go dancing tonight? Yeah. Okay, let's go down to the club. And they get there and they go, honey, you want to dance? Yeah, that's why we're here, to dance. That nobody else wants to dance is of no consequence. That any of these strangers that I will never meet like or dislike what I'm about to do is of no consequence. I came for a purpose, to dance with my lovely wife today. And that's what I'm doing. And if everybody else in this room doesn't want to do it, it's not going to stop me. I don't care. So again, but now we're worried about what other people think. Here's what I'll tell you too. You start worrying about what other people think, you will never change the world. So if you want to get along with everybody, you will never, ever make any change in this world. The people who make change in the world are the ones that are called rebels and maniacs and crazy. And look at that guy, won't get along, and he, push him to the side. There's every name you can come up with for the people who rebel. It's no, because the system wants to retain its success, prestige, and power. And anybody that tries to beat it, but what the system will consistently do would be so successful, it will become paralyzed by itself and freeze itself to being innovative. No matter how big it is, it will freeze itself. And then the rebel will come. So go ask IBM why they're not selling more than Apple today. Why they let a guy in a garage with 2 of his friends beat them. Because they got to the point where they knew all the answers and they had to protect their $1 billion. And so it's can't do that because it might not work. Can't do that, it might not work. And so they get frozen in trying to try stuff. And then the little guys from the outside, not from the inside, from the outside come along and they go, I got this other idea and it'll never work. Of course it will never work. And you're an idiot and you're a fool. Stop it. All the words that they have. And then there's still the stubborn person that will do it. And lo and behold, it works and it grows and it becomes its own big giant thing. And then they get so big, they start protecting it. And then it goes again. And this has just been mankind forever. Look, there's a documentary that came out not long ago on Netflix. It was about, I don't even know what it's called. It was they followed a couple people that were running for office. This has AOCs in it. I forget what it's called. But the best line in that documentary was about in the first 10 minutes. Some old wise guy stood up, and I mean wise in terms of smart. And he had all these people that were just about ready to run for office. And he said to them, today is the day you can become the most fearless and the most courageous because you owe nobody anything yet. If you get elected 5 years from now, I may not be able to say that to you. This is the most courageous you're going to be. This is the most free you're going to be able to be. So give it all you got, because it gets harder from here on out, right? So this is why the fearlessness, the doing the stuff that seems insane always has to come from the outside, because we're not beholden. We don't get money from somebody else. We don't get power from somebody else. They don't give us our identities yet. And so we get to do it. But that's it. I don't know. I don't know why. We can analyze it. Why am I like it? It just happened, I think, when I came out of the womb. Why do some dogs bite and some dogs don't? And here's what I'll tell you about a dog that doesn't bite. You can't teach it to bite. It's just nice. I'm a biter.
Todd, burning question. Spawn, the movie.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about Spawn the movie.
So, everybody's been dying for a new Spawn, right?
Right.
Everybody's been dying.
Right,
So,
me too.
Here's, we want a rated R Spawn movie.
Yes.
You talked about studios wanting you to do a PG-13
Right.
Spawn movie.
Right.
What is holding up?
Oh, dudes, we may just be at the perfect moment this weekend. Because you know who may have just done me the biggest favor? The Joker. Because guess what?
Check this out.
Those guys are going to wake up on Monday, and they already know. They don't have to wake up on Monday. They already know. Two numbers are going to be on their desk on Monday morning when they have their Monday meetings, all the studios. One, it opened up domestically to $93 million. They were projecting at the top 80, and it beat it almost by 20%. Wow. It opened up to 200. My numbers they're telling me is 243 globally, $250 million for an R-rated movie. So what's going to happen, because these guys are predictable, is that they're going to have their meeting, and this is what they're going to do. What was so hot this weekend? Oh, R-rated, dark, serious comic book material. R-rated, dark, serious comic book material. Go get it. And then I'm going to have to come in next week and say, you know that R-rated, dark comic book material I've been trying to shove down your throat for years, that I tell you that the audience has an appetite for, that you don't want to believe me? You just got your validation. So even if we do half that number, it will be a home run. What are you talking about? And that doesn't take special effects. And so now they're going to go, oh my gosh, and all of a sudden they're going to look at me with a different light next week. Oh my God, R-rated, dark, cool stuff, Spawn, okay, and it's at the top of the charts on sales. Oh my God, and it's going to be like they just heard it for the first time, even though I've been saying it for years and you guys have been reading it like, and we're all going, oh my God. Why? Because I know that there are millions of people who look exactly like you and are the age that everybody is at this table. And yes, you enjoy the PG-13 superhero stuff, but we're also old enough to take more than that. Our diet is way wider than the 8-year-old who just likes hamburgers and French fries and tomato sandwiches, right? We've got a wider appetite. Yeah. And so I've been saying, I think they're craving something serious.
This is, I think, is a prime time for it, actually. So Joker made $234 million.
234, okay. Somebody said 243, they transformed a couple of those numbers, but 234 is still a big-ass number.
All the numbers aren't in yet, but that's a huge number for a rated R film. Over projections.
What was Deadpool's?
No. It doesn't matter about Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's why. Because Deadpools are not serious.
Oh, yeah.
I've been trying to, they've seen the script, some of them, and I've been talking to them. The Spawn script is deadly serious. There is no fun in it. And I haven't seen the Joker movie, but from what I understand, it's kind of the same, not a lot of joy. So you go, it's drama, it's suspense, you're going cool. And now they're gonna, like, I walk in there and I say, I need $20 million, that's the budget. $21.5 million is the budget we've given the studio. with a $3.5 million contingency, which means it's an $18 million production. I don't know if they've got what they said this one was, but when they're making dramas for 40, 50, 60, 70 million dollars that are not even open up to 20. I go, you give me 20 for Spawn? At worst, I would put my children's life on this statement. At worst, it will make your budget back for opening weekend. At worst, and I think it will do double your budget on opening weekend, because the 40 million opening I think we can get is based upon that we got a 20 million opening in 1997 and ticket prices have doubled. So if I get the same number of people, we're already at $40 million. And oh, by the way, it's been 22 years, so even if you were a zygote when the first movie came out, you can go to an R-rated movie. So everybody can go to this thing. So why would I lose anybody? They may not come back the second week, I'm not saying that, but we'll get the opening. We'll give them a huge curiosity for everybody goes, oh my God, here's this thing here, and it's like, and if I cut a decent trailer, we'll get more. And on top of it, there's now a globe that has been built in which they go to these movies. Take a look at you're on that. Go to that box office mojo and look up Aquaman. 80%, almost 80% of that money came from overseas, not in America. Here's what I know as the president of the third largest comic company. DC doesn't sell a lot of Aquaman comic books outside of North America. So how did they get 80%? Oh, somebody got a phone call. How did somebody get 80% of a billion-dollar franchise overseas in a place that doesn't read comic books? Because they just have built them. They have just built them. $813 million overseas for Aquaman, which was 71% of their take. 71% of the take of that movie is not even North America. You think people in Argentina and people in Bolivia and people in Spain are reading Aquaman comic books? Of course they're not. They're going to movies that look cool for the right age. All right, so now this New York Comic Con is a perfect example. I don't need everybody in this building to know who I am. Matter of fact, I'm glad they don't. It's good, right? But what I do know is they're all geeks, and the more geeks that are being bred across the world, the better chance I've got. Because if I can only get 3%, and there's 8 billion, that's a big number for open. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the whole industry is different from 1997, and now Joker's going to show it. And so, the bigger one is going to be if I go back in the next couple of weeks and I bug them and they all still are bored of it, then that's the bigger mystery to me. And then I'll just go raise the money outside the system.
Yeah.
Shoot, that's like I'll go raise
Joker's budget there.
Joker budget is somewhere between 55 and 70 million. We're asking for on the high end, we're asking for a quarter of that, and on the low end, we're asking for a third of that. With Jamie Foxx, with Jeremy Renner, right? Like, come on. I don't understand. But anyways, name's Todd. Rhymes with God. I don't control the planet. Wish I did, but it only rhymes with God. So, anyways,
out of the 301 issues, do you have like a favorite moment, like a favorite arc of your character out of all of them that just comes to your mind? It's like the quintessential Al Simmons story development arc.
Not really. There are a couple stories that I was proud of. There was one where I should know the issue, but let's say 33, I don't know, 28, 20, I don't know. It was a story where Spawn had sort of dropped out of this sort of black hole, and this little kid found him in the middle of Arkansas or someplace and took him home, and then he soon found out that these two young children had been beaten by their father, who was a mean drunk and a police, sheriff. And Spawn wanted to stop it, and the way he thought he'd stop it is just go, I'll just embarrass the drunk. And so the drunk ended up waking up and looked in the mirror and tattooed all over him, said, "I beat my kids, I beat my kids, I beat my kids." And he was basically going to be the scarlet letter. He put the scarlet letter on, and instead of it curing the dad, the Spawn did it and thought he had done his heroic deed, and he left. It enraged the father. It didn't calm him down and embarrass him and humiliate him. It enraged the father. So he started to beat the kids harder, and one of the young sons who wanted to protect the other son pulls the gun from the sheriff's holster and shoots his dad dead. And so what was important about that story was trying to be a hero isn't so simplistic. Spawn thought he was doing the right thing. Spawn thought he could solve the problem. He was playing God a little bit. And instead he walks away, and now he puts these two kids in a compromising position, unbeknownst to him. And they have to kill their father, and then they go on the lam. Now you've got two kids on the lam trying to survive. Eventually those two kids, months, years later in the comics, showed up. And Spawn was like, "What are you doing here?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, well, we killed our dad." I mean, again, he never looked back to see what was happening every time he played hero. I think that's true for all superheroes, right? I get it, you beat the bad guy, but in the meantime, 4 buildings fell, and how do I know that 22 people weren't crushed in the fall? Like, doesn't seem to be like what PG-13 action movies, not just superhero, but they've been going ever since I was a child. I never went to those movies, never had any interest in them. I call them, me personally, chaos with no consequence. They look good, they look great, guy jumping, dodging bullets on the middle of the LA freeway, jumping through the middle of Times Square, and what my brain can't turn off is where are those bullets going that are missing them? Because it's a busy street, and it's in the middle of Times Square, and there are human beings walking around. And they never acknowledge the reality of the world. And all they ever wanted, I've never seen any Avengers movies, but I've heard about them, is all I wanted is at the end of these big movies with Ultron blowing up half of New York, is at the end when you fade to black, a voice come and say, and New Yorkers will be months in the making of being able to bury the dead. It looks like the body count is up to 1,500, and it will be a sad state for this city for months to come. But there's an outpouring of hope from around the world. Just acknowledge that that cool shit that I just saw for 2 hours didn't come free of charge. Because if you replayed it in this city, not only would it kill a lot of people, but eventually those people would sue to get you out of the city, because they would go live in the middle of the desert, so when the bad guy comes, you guys can pound dirt all you want and leave my 5-year-old alone, because I need to protect my 5-year-old. And if you guys can't protect them because they know where you live, then get the hell away from me. I would. I'd protect. So I just need a little more reality in my movies, right? This is why I said we'll see how much I like Joker stuff, but that was it. So Spawn is just, people go, in this movie I'm writing, who's the supervillain? None. Who's the bad guy? None. Does he have a car? No. Does he have a headquarters? No. Spawn doesn't even talk. He's just a primal beast when he comes. He's just a boogeyman to me. And so, you take the boogeyman out of my movie, it's just the world that we live in today. There's nothing fantastic about my movie. There's only one element in my movie that's fantastic, and that's the boogeyman that you and I know called Spawn. It seems to mess people up when I talk about it in Hollywood, yet they do this movie all day long, and they're called horror movies. There's the one boogeyman, there's the one monster, and minus the monster, the world is as we know it. It's a real world, right? Take Mike Myers out of that movie, and it's still the world that we live in. This is like, I don't know why they're having a difficult time with this. It's like, you guys have been making these movies. This isn't unique. It's just because you add the word superhero to it. And that's what switches them. That they've got this formula of what a superhero should be. And so now, hopefully, they can get away from superhero and make it comic book. And Joker might turn it for them to go, it's not about superheroes, it's about comic book material. And it can now come in all sizes and shapes. Ding, 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 ding. I've been saying this for years to the point that I'm getting exhausted. Yes, exactly.
Well, if you notice, there is an audience. People are craving the rated R, and this is probably the prime time to do it. If Spawn were to launch, tomorrow, this weekend for rated R.
Look, if they don't do it at a certain point,
yeah.
I'm not going to phone you and all these good people here, and we're just going to march into Hollywood. Like, we got to, like, come on. Come on, like, they're missing it. No, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play nice, and we're going to do it, and I hope I can get a studio attached. And then they're going to have a giant say, because anytime you ask anybody for $20 million, they should have a lot of say in how to get their $20 million back. So I completely understand it as a CEO. But if the compromises that I need to make to get their $20 million back changes the function of and the mood and the tone of the movie overall, then I'll just find money outside the system, and then make the movie and bring it in for distribution, right? So I don't mind making changes. I don't mind making compromises, as long as at the end of it, it's still a dark, badass movie. And if I can keep dark, badass movie, then I'm going to be good. Why? Because I believe my audience is waiting for that. And if I deliver anything less than that, I think they will be disappointed. What is that machine?
I think someone's just dragging his chair.
Yeah.
Dragging a chair. That's a lot of chairs. That's it.
I was curious here. For Spawn, you have a new look and potentially new powers. What was sort of the idea behind that? Why now?
Okay, that's actually a decent question. At the end of 300, you're talking about the new look, where he just literally constructs his costume, right? Again, I acted it out for Greg Capullo. It's how I sold him on it. I go, let me just act it. I don't want to tell you. Let me just act it, right? To the point that when he gets to the end, he's got those iron ties, right? Right? I mean, I had welts on my arm. I was hitting so hard, right? And I'm the hero, not the costume, right? So the car is only so good. It's the driver. It's not a new look per se. What it is. And then you saw earlier that he was showing his and that's how it works. That you saw, like, there's the zombie look. So here's who Spawn can be. He can be that zombie monster look. He can be a good-looking, handsome dude. He can, proud black man. Here we go. He can. He can be classic Spawn from Mission. He can be classic Spawn from Mission Number 1. He can be sort of the gnarly looking one with the teeth that have sort of been in the last 50, 70, 100 years. And he can now be this look that you saw that Greg Capullo drew at the end of it. That's five different looks. Five different looks means a lot. It's value. For me, as a writer who hopes to write another 300 issues, it gives me variety. I don't have one groove, I've got 5. So I can do the monster story for a while. When I get bored of that, I can go to the superhero story for a while. I don't want to do superhero, I want to do good looking guy. Oh, no, I want to just do walking badass dude that just looks like some morbid looking thing. I can jump it. Oh, by the way, if I have to get people to help me on this book, I can now go to them and say, oh, what would you like to draw? What turns your crank? And then they'll have 5 options. They'll have 5 options visually, and I'll make a story work for every one of them. And then that way, I think I have a higher chance, one, of getting better talent, because I'll have a smorgasbord of sort of visuals they can pick from. And for me personally, I have to have that flexibility so I don't go oh, now they're going to go twice as long just to rub it in our face. like they're crushing boxes or something, right? Oh, now they're moving. It's moving now.
No, it's a really big chair.
No, that's like it's like I need it for myself to keep my sanity. Because if I have to write the same Spawn story that I wrote in the first 10 issues over and over and over and over, I won't make it. As a matter of fact, I would have been insane a long time ago. So when people say, why is it evolving for my sanity? It has to evolve. Right? I'm getting older, I'm getting more mature, and I need this. I've always said that if Stan Lee had written Spider-Man for 30 years in a row, Peter Parker wouldn't be the exact same as he is right now. He would have evolved him. He couldn't have just made him a high school kid forever. He would have had to eventually put him in college, and eventually said, no, I can't do the college thing anymore. I've got to move him someplace else. Now he's got a day job. And then, no, I can't. Now I'm going to put him on Wall Street. Something would have happened, because the same human being can't go 27 years with the same idea over and over and over and over and over. I mean, maybe if you're doing a cartoon strip or something, but I can't. At least I'm not built for that. I mean, I'm built for the war. I'm just not built for the same repetition creatively. So I need flexibility in all of it. And I think my audience has been growing up with me. They can handle if I want to do something dark and sophisticated and crazy, and and then I can go back to the roots of it if I want. So that's it. It's selfish reasons and sanity reasons and future business propositions when I try to go get the best talent that I can, and all of that as part of the recipe will help hopefully keep the book relevant, for a longer period of time. Yep. No, we'll get there. Shoot, everything in time, dude. I plan on being around for another 30 years, at minimum. So I've still got. Look, let me tell you, there has never been in 27 years, one day, one moment, in which I didn't want to do that book. Now, people can question the sanity of it, but I'm like, no, and here's why. Because I do the toys, and I do deal with my other businesses, and I do deal with Hollywood, and I do deal with licensed people and lawyers and all this other stuff, the rest of humanity. And I'm sure all you good people have been in the same meetings with the same humanity I have, and you walk out of that meeting and you are numb, and you just go, why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we complicating life? Why? Because now you get groupthink, and you get people that basically are going to sit there and threaten you because they've got more power over you or whatever. All this stuff that complicates our lives. And then at the end of every one of those days, and I have plenty of them, and they're ongoing. I wish I could say they're getting smaller, but as long as there's humanity, they will always be here, right? Because humans as a whole are entertainment, and I'll leave that as kind a word as I can. Humanity is entertaining every day. So at the end of that day, I get to turn to my corner, and it's called Spawn, of which I own 100%, and I have to ask nobody's permission. I have to not talk to anybody to help create it. I get to do whatever I want, 100% unfettered, and it is oxygen to me. It feeds me. After I just spent 10 hours dealing with humanity, I need this book in my life. Me personally, I need this book. If I didn't have this book, I'd been in the mental bin a long time ago, or I would have done something they would have arrested me for. So it's my balance, my wife, my family, and this book, and that's my solace that I have, and everything else is a crapshoot, right? So that's why, and it's interesting because, people who do their book for a long time to get bored of their book, I'm going, no, you need to start a couple businesses and start dealing with humanity, and you will love what you're doing right now. Like, it would be, yeah, like, come on. So that's it. I'm not even breathing heavy on this yet, and I've been at it for 27 years. I'm still ready to go.
By the way, Todd, you ever explore the idea of doing Spawn as a weekly series before?
As a weekly series?
Yeah.
You mean in a comic book?
Yeah.
Whoosh.
Or maybe allow.
I'd be
other
up to
creators
700.
do
I'll be up to
weekly?
700 by next year. That's a lot of work.
Or maybe other books for Image to do as a weekly series for other creators to do.
No, one of the things that shifted in the industry from when we started Image to today is that it seems to be getting more and more difficult to hire good talented people to do runs to stay on books. I mean, and part of it is because downstairs, as an example, you can go get a table at Artist Alley, do head sketches of whatever character they want, and make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. That is more than you would get working at Marvel or DC or Image, right? So it's a frustrating part that's happening right now. They're like, why would I do a book when I can make more money going to conventions? So it's getting hard to just find people to do books on any level right now. Now, the equalizer is you got the internet, and now you can find people globally. So that's there, but it's that would be a big undertaking.
But maybe sometime in the future, maybe weekly series? Or other books, doesn't have to be Spawn.
Maybe, but we'll start 2 a month before we get to 1 a week, right? We're taking in baby steps. So.
Well, this is just more toward the actual concept of comics. Just out of curiosity, what are your favorite noir movies? Because it's kind of undeniable. Angels and demons and bad people on Earth all have that same kind of gangster feel.
Yeah, the underbelly. Okay, let me just tell you that if you were to say, Todd, what are your top movies you like? Not one of them has any special effects hardly in it. They're all R-rated movies. They're all dramas, and the majority of them are true stories, true life stories, right? I don't go to action movies. I don't go to PG-13 movies. I just don't. They, for me personally, I'm not saying they just don't do anything for me. This was true when I was younger. When everybody was going to Star Wars, I'm telling you, this is true. When everybody was going to Star Wars, I was going to Gorky's Park, right? I just go, and it become even more because at the end of the day, after 12 hours of doing fantasy, I need to unplug. Again, we all survive in different ways. This is how I'm wired. At the end of doing 12 hours of fantasy, unplug. I need to basically go get a movie that is nothing but just raw drama. So, what's the next movie that I'm looking forward to? There's 2 of them. One is called Just Mercy, coming out with Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx, and it's based on a true story. And there's a book out, and my wife and daughter have listened to the man who wrote the book. And these are just compelling stories to me. I'm always saying, what's the fantasy version of that compelling story? And the other one is I just saw, which was a little bit uplifting when I Googled it, was one called Uncut Gems. This is the one with Adam Sandler in it. And it looks ugly and gritty, and it's the underbelly of bookies, right? And I can just watch these ugly movies all day long. My wife hates it when I get to pick the movie because she goes, oh, you're going to pick one of those dark, depressing movies. Because what they do is they just show me what humanity is capable of doing to each other, and I want to get reminded about what we're capable of doing. But then I always ask myself the question, what would The Godfather look like if you put a boogeyman in it? How would that play out? Just add the one element, what would that movie be, right? Why can't you keep it real and then add the element? Why when you put on a costume do you stop talking like a mature adult? I don't get it. I don't get it. And you're not even thinking like an adult. And if you guys want, someday I will give you the theses of the movies I have gone to in which they wear costumes, in which, to me, there are absurdities galore in it, right? But part of it is I do fantasy all day long, and I need to unplug. Other people do serious all day long, and they need to unplug getting into the fantasy. So everybody has what they have individually. I just need a dose of reality at the end of my workday, because all I do is swim in reality, right? In fantasy. I need my reality. So Blood Diamond, right? The Insider, Braveheart. Shit, I just watched it again for the 900th time in my room. I was watching the ball game. I came across it. Shoot. Anytime I need to get inspired for the fight, I plug in Braveheart and I'm ready to go for another 3 years, right? It is a good, for a guy like me, it's a good movie. So anything that's gritty, The Departed, like I said, it's just urban cops doing stuff they shouldn't, The Hustle. But then even when you see movies that came out, like The Lion, right? So it's drama. So that's what I need in my life. So how do you do drama and add fantasy? All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Todd.
Okay.
What's up, guys?
Hey, I'm
Wait,
Markell.
did that light go off?
That light went off, man. You gotta pay attention when it's recording.
Did it? I don't think it's
It
all
did.
over.
Yes, the light went off.
Okay. But anyway,
Hey guys, this is Markell.
and it's your boy Ronnie.
Thank you so much for watching this video.
If you like what you just saw, you definitely want to go ahead and hit that like or subscribe
It's
button.
somewhere around here.
Somewhere. Might
Could be down
even
here.
Near Spro, I don't know.
But make sure, more importantly, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can see more of this juicy content.
Definitely.
I'm Markell,
I'm Ronnie.
and this is Ronnie Markell Make a Podcast. You know.